and thank you for joining me on this live Q&A session. I'll say what I always do to start out with. If you're here with me live, or even if you're just watching this as a replay, at a later date, you can put in any comments or questions you have wherever you're watching. There's a comment box. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, just type your comment, type your question, and if you are here live, I will be able to respond to you in real time. But otherwise, I'll take any such questions and I'll bring them forward to a future session. So that's always a standing truth. You can always reach us that way. Of course, we have email and things like that. But for today, we'll start with, I actually have the question right on my screen here, and that is, it's a very common question we get many times, for many patients, for good reason. And the question is, do you recommend homeopathic work during pregnancy? So I'll start by answering that in a relatively general way, which is true at the general level, but then I'll drill down into some more specific considerations and why we think about things a certain way. So the very general answer is yes, it's safe. Homeopathic remedies are non-toxic. There's no there's no allergenic triggering ingredients. I guess they're what you call hypoallergenic. It doesn't matter if someone has a deathly allergy to peanuts or eggs or whatever. The remedy will never trigger an allergic response, right? So it's non-toxic, as I said. It's perfectly safe. So really, at any age, any health condition, any just general life situation, homeopathic remedies are safe. But more to the heart of this question, um, that doesn't mean you just, you throw all caution to the wind. Sometimes in with some histories, some pregnancy histories, for example, there have been past miscarriages or a series of miscarriages, and the mother may be feeling particularly cautious and sensitive to anything which can potentially disturb the viability of a given pregnancy, right? She doesn't want to rock the boat, as they say, like really kind of slow and cautious and kind of take a really conservative approach like that, and that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense, and it's not for the reason where I started. It's not because homeopathic remedies are toxic or anything like that. However, the whole process of homeopathic treatment, depending on what depth we're going to, can trigger various kinds of healing reactions. Now, again, in general, healing reactions are a very positive and healthy thing. It's what the body is always trying to do, bring us to a greater state of health and balance things out. And our immune system pushes out germs, and our general metabolic system pushes out toxins and things that don't belong. So in general, the homeopathic healing reaction, as we call it, is a positive thing. But again, if we're in a more sensitive condition, such as I said, with some history of miscarriages that would prefer not to be repeated, then again, we don't necessarily want, even though it's a natural and healthy process, the healing reaction, we don't want to get into something that could potentially provoke a miscarriage. So that's sort of a general consideration, and that's really very much on a case-by-case basis, right? There's no absolute rule that says, yes, you must use homeopathy during pregnancy. No, you cannot. It's like, no, I mean, there are general principles and a general understanding of how things are working. But as I say, in certain specific histories, there may be a very wise decision, as I say, to be more conservative and pull back, at a minimum, to pull back from the deeper homeopathic treatments. We can use more kind of gentle supportive remedies. Those are generally not going to be rocking the boat and causing problems, like we're concerned with miscarriage in this question. But to go a little bit deeper, and I think this will shed more light on, I think so far, I hope what I've said more or less makes sense. I'm saying pretty common sense, basic things. But to get a little more specific and a little more detailed into what, like I've sort of alluded to this, what's going on with, deeper homeopathic treatment versus more superficial treatment. There's a clearer way we can explain that and express that, and it really comes down to um, like I'm using this word homeopathy in a relatively generic way, right? We have the law of similars, like here's like, and we have this whole range of remedies, and we can use them in all these situations, but we have to be a little more specific here, and the big distinction to make is, and I'll use a bit of a technical set of words here. I'll explain them, but we like the word homeopathic has the word root pathic right into there, homeopathic, and of course that's a big part of what we do. That's the kind of the well-known part of homeopathy, which treats specific symptom pictures. Somebody has a sore throat, hurts on the left side, or somebody has a tickle in their throat and they're coughing, or somebody has a certain kind of skin rash that gets worse, when they're overheated, or some very specific symptoms, and we match the specific homeopathic remedy, which basically matches that whole symptom picture. So that's the literal, the visible application of this like cures like principle. You have a disease image that looks like this, and you have a remedy image that looks quite the same. So that's a curative remedy, and that's wonderful. That's and what I said a couple of minutes ago, that at that level of basic support, we're not really rocking the boat too much. We're just kind of addressing a really immediate symptom that's already kind of disturbing this person. So you want to bring the disturbance level down. That's what that homeopathic side works. The other side of the law of similars, which we use quite a lot and quite extensively, but this is where more of the caution might come in pregnancy, um, is rather than homeopathic, we're still under the law of similars, but now we're going to use the word homotonic. Homeopathic, homotonic. So the big difference there is in the words pathic and tonic, where pathic is what I just explained a second ago. You were dealing with symptom pictures, but in the tonic approach is the much deeper approach, and it definitely can and does rock the boat, so to speak. Now that's in the general order of things. That's a good thing. We're getting at deeper diseases. We're kind of pushing out these great disturbances to someone's life force, which may or may not have any visible symptoms associated with them. Like many of these tonic diseases are actually quite invisible. Somebody goes around thinking, "Oh, I'm healthy. I don't have any symptoms." They kind of have this blindness to what's going on at this deeper tonic disease level. But you send in one of these tonic remedies, homotonic remedies, and yes, it can definitely rock the boat and stir the pot, and all the metaphors that we can use about that. And as I say, ultimately towards a good end, it's creating a deeply healative process, curative and healative. But back to our original question, if it's a more sensitive situation, such as like a miscarriage history, in previous pregnancies, yeah, that deeper tonic level prescribing can certainly be not what somebody wants to do. At least, we use the more gentle supportive remedies and kind of take them through the basic process of pregnancy, things like symptoms of morning sickness and some of these kind of pregnancy discomforts and things like that, treated at the homeopathic level, quite safe and very like virtually no concern basically. But yeah, the part we want to be cautious about, as I'm laying out, is that homotonic treatment, those deeper invisible diseases, largely invisible. And that's, in our case, that gets into a lot of what we treat normally when we treat somebody's trauma timeline. If somebody's had a car accident, a whiplash, emotional shocks and traumas, all the different life events that we go through, these create these invisible tonic diseases, as I'm calling them. Usually invisible. I mean, sometimes, of course, we do suffer, we have certain symptoms or whatever, but most of the time, it's correct to call these invisible diseases. That invisible doesn't mean they're harmless. They're quite the opposite. They're deeply disturbing and quite disrupting some of the most fundamental life functions. But in the context of our question here, we do want to keep that side of treatment potentially much more minimized, say if there's a more sensitive pregnancy situation or concerns or things like that. But in the broader, the general state of treatment and healthcare and all the things we do, yeah, we're generally using both sides, homeopathic, homotonic. But in this particular question, this is where the caution might come up. So I hope that sheds some more light. Of course, if more questions come up, please, say, type them into the question box below, or, we, of course, be reached by our email address. Um, and let me just quickly switch my banner here. So yeah, we do regularly do these live Q&A sessions, and you can also go finding out when the next broadcast will be by going to this website. And likewise, you can put in your questions there. But anyways, one way or another, your question will get to us, and I will bring it forward to a future live stream. So thank you for joining us today, and we will see you all soon.